All right, Grand Rising, everyone. I hope you had a great week. This is Ron. It's Saturday, August 9th. Can you believe it? What is going on? It's August 9th already. Uh, I hope all is well with you. We'll start the day off and see if we have any questions. Any questions or concerns, anything from the week, or anything that we may have talked about that you want to bring up again. Anyone? Okay, nothing? Um, I mentioned something to Pastor that I was looking at. I'll be honest with you. I was looking at TikTok, and TikTok has something that where it's not called fun facts, but it's factual things, and they have a list of things out there, and I like reading those every now and then. And one of them mentioned uh, stress that men carry in their sperms that can be carried to the next generation. And it got my attention, and I stopped right there and I went to kind of research that. And I thought that was most interesting topic. Uh, so I was wondering, I know that's a little something that we don't care talk about a whole lot. We have talked about generational curses or carrying things to the next generation, but the how-to or the functionality of it uh, I don't think we've ever covered. And I thought this was very interesting. Uh, it talked about not only carrying something from generation to generation, but it mentioned something that I had never heard of before. And it not only talked about DNA, but it talked about RNA. And I wasn't familiar with RNA, but how weird. Now I can't pull up my data. But I thought that was most interesting uh, because it looked at even if a man goes through trauma in his early childhood stages, that that trauma, that stress can be carried forward. And it, it it carries not only memories, but I was trying to find this thing I found on RNA.
Mute, Vermeil, mute 111, please. Thank you.
Mm-mm. Let me see here. It also, and I'll get to women in a minute because it's just as devastating if you want to talk about the effect that this has on women.
While you're searching, I can add something to that.
Please
Um,
do. I can't find
hey
what I'm looking
everyone.
for.
Just in general, the effect that stress and your mental and emotional state can have on your development is, um, quite significant, as I'm sure we've all experienced. But it is equally uh, possible to improve your even physical uh, development by sort of cultivating a loving and positive uh, mindset and vibration. So a vibration, or it is kind of like a feeling. Like these words are all related: vibration, feeling, and frequency. And those things are all related to the nature of the consciousness or the minds that we cultivate. So in a very sort of low vibrational or negative state, like a stressful one, an anxious one, etc., it has corresponding sort of impacts on your uh, physical body as well, of course. But the opposite is true, as I was just saying, like a positive and uh, sort of more high vibration or high frequency mind state and uh, emotional state has positive effects. And that's easy to say, of course, more difficult to learn how to address and deal with all the negative things that have built up within us as a result of our experiences. I myself have dealt with quite a bit of anxiety over the course of my life. And one of the main things I have realized it's my responsibility to do is learn how to address it. Because fear is one of those sort of major stressful things that is one of the foundational um, sort of lessons that we are here to understand how to deal with. And of course, we can receive help, we can receive inspiration and support from other people. Ultimately, we have to figure out the way in which it is best addressed by ourselves, for ourselves. So anyway, all those things, the negative stuff we've experienced contribute to your DNA and the other aspects of your how your cells function, etc., including RNA or mRNA. All that stress, etc., contributes to a degraded functionality of our physical vehicle. And learning how to heal all those aspects, all the sort of fearful or negative, negative is perhaps a more harsher sounding word, but these are just things we all deal with. It's not like we are any less of a person or being for experiencing negative things, of course. But learning how to deal with it literally improves the physical function of your body, of the physical vehicle. And it also affects your DNA, just as you were speaking about. So you can, as you brought up in the beginning, pass on the results of stress in some ways if you have children. You can also pass on the results of a sort of more balanced and harmonized DNA or body to your children if you have been able to sort of work through some of that over the course of your spiritual development. And a lot of what spiritual development is exactly that, learning to work through all of the generally negative experiences because they have such a big impact on our lives given the context that we live in. Spiritual development is about learning how to work through that and let go of it and heal the nature of yourself, having been through these kinds of experiences, so that you can remember or resonate in tune with those higher vibration, higher frequency, higher consciousness aspects of the nature of consciousness, spirit, and the self, so that those things have a more clear channel into this physical experience.
Nick, I didn't want to, I didn't want to interfere while you were talking. But would you define RNA, mRNA?
Sure. So everybody has heard DNA.
Mm-hmm.
That is deoxyribonucleic acid. RNA is just like part of it, ribonucleic acid. mRNA is messenger ribonucleic acid. And both of those things play different functions within your body, but they are related to DNA in their structure, and their sort of responsibilities. So they're used for different things. Like you may have heard of mRNA, just paying attention to the news because a lot of newer vaccines are attempting to use mRNA in order to work, regardless of the the discussion on the nature of vaccines, etc. But the point is they use mRNA among other things.
Thank you.
Thank you. So mRNA, for example, as I mentioned, is messenger RNA, so it can affect DNA in different ways and sort of serves as a messenger, which is why it's called that, between different parts of the cell. So they just perform different functions, but are similar to what DNA is.
So,
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm trying to remember, I do not remember this off the top of my head. The mitochondria in the cell contains a sort of, see, this is where I need to look this up because I forget. It either contains mRNA or RNA or something like that, but that is where we get the DNA memory from that is passed down through women. Because in the mitochondria, that sort of older or ability to trace the lineage through women is found, I believe. But I need to look that up. But that's all related to these things.
So what you're talking about is the transference of emotions. And that's because the mRNA has an effect on which genes are regulated or the expression of the genes. So when you talked about loving kindness, well, first of all, everybody has DNA because that's basic for all animals. When you talk about loving kindness and changing that that trauma, that kindness affects the RNA, and the RNA takes that message to to the genes, which means that it's changing the expression of the trauma. So the trauma becomes less and less effective on you. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. And it is put most simply, it is simply the nature of the emotions that we are able to work through.
Yeah.
Because trauma is mental and emotional, but it is mostly emotional. And it is the nature of those emotions that get built up in us that is, I would say, represents the more challenging part of what we are meant to do in terms of releasing the negativity
Right.
in order to grow spiritually.
However, go ahead, Nick. I thought you were finished again. You got
No, I
long pauses.
got pause. No, you can go.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
So what happens is when that trauma is transferred, the more that trauma is reinforced by what you have to deal with in life, the harder it is to have a transference of emotion or to have a transformation of emotions with the mRNA, through the mRNA rather. Is that it? You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Hmm.
The more you reinforce it. And that is one of the reasons it has been so difficult for us as a people, because the trauma reoccurs consistently. And it may come in different forms, but it's trauma. And it's read the same way by the body in terms of being a continuation of the trauma that was experienced from the beginning of our existence in this earth, not in this earth, I'm sorry, in this country, or even before that, when we were snatched from Africa. It's more difficult.
Yeah.
Um,
Was going with this because already suggests that uh, it keeps to, and that can cause not only memory loss but learning behavior. It can help create anxiety, and so uh, the normal functionalities that you think about, uh, and at some point, it can even cause physical functional type of damage, like such as breathing problems, and so it is not only a mental thing but a physical thing, and I think about the trauma of African has in. That's where I was wondering, could this be a generational thing that is waiting for someone to address it? But there was a list of things I had here, and I can't seem to find the one article that I saw that I liked. But you guys are right on point.
um, one of the ways that is reinforced, I think, and check me if I'm off base. One of the ways is when you have to have the talk um, with how to respond to policemen. Most of us don't know what that is, I think. How to respond when a policeman pull you over. Even having that talk reinforces that trauma. And it increases when you get pulled over, especially at night, and especially if you're a male, because that's the talk is had mostly with males, but also with females. But the trauma is reinforced mostly through males. So is that part of your research, Ron?
Yeah, I didn't get I was yeah, I didn't get that specific with it, but I was trying to have as for what you carry down or what you carry on, and I think you guys are pretty much hitting it, and that certainly would be a trigger, Pastor. You're absolutely right. So uh, I just thought that was interesting when I saw it, and thought it was worth us looking at and taking a closer look at.
So the gist of it is trauma at an early age in males, and I know you're going to talk about females in a moment, but trauma at an early age in males has an effect on the sperm. It puts stress on the sperm, and that stress can be transferred, which is actually the trauma, the damage of the trauma being transferred from generation to generation through the sperm. That's the gist of it, I think.
Yeah, yeah. There was some other part of this.
Um, while Ron is looking for that, did you want to continue, Nick?
Um, yeah, I just wanted to add
Okay, go ahead.
one more thing to that. The to whatever extent we carry the issues from our ancestors um, that we have, been given in order to address our, let's say, our ancestors are looking forward to the time when we are able to address it because they are still partly connected to us through it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And not just trauma, also positive things, but again, because we, you know, this is a traumatic experience for most people in various ways.
So Nicholas, when we start start saying stuff like racism is not our problem, it's theirs. We didn't create it, we can't end it. That's relieving a part of the stress. When we say things like the like nigger, that doesn't bother me because I know that it's out of pure ignorance of the etymology of the word and what it actually means. It is intended to create trauma or fear. So when we begin understanding those principles and embrace them, then that begins to, for lack of a better term, free our sperm from this trauma as we pass it on, as we have children. This realization helps to change that, and the idea of us talking about love and kindness all the time, and when we embrace love and kindness, the principles of it, the spirituality of it, and when we practice it, it begins it begins to not to relieve a great portion of the trauma that we have been carrying from generation to generation. And also, lastly, is it possible? Well, I know it's possible that the ancestors want us to get through this traumatic period in our lives, because when we do, we are no longer blind to who we are and the journey that we must take. And the difficulty in embracing that you're Elohim is part of the trauma. Once you embrace it, then the trauma is much less than what it was in the beginning, and the anger that we experience when we see certain things happen, like police brutality, people getting terminated from their jobs. There was a thing online on Tabitha was talking about since Trump been in office, over 300,000 women have been black women have lost their jobs. That kind of trauma. When we embrace the essence of who we are and we talk about the reality of the goddess, the cosmic mother, then we put also in the atmosphere the energy that's necessary to lift some of this trauma from all of us. Make sense?
Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I want to continue the discussion with this. After I saw that about the men, I just looked at the stress in women during childbirth, and it talks about stress in a woman can affect her blood pressure. It can cause premature birth. It can cause low birth weight. Uh, it produces depression uh, during pregnancy. Also has a adverse effect on the fetus. Uh, premature stress can affect the baby's brain development and increase the risk of cognitive and behavioral problems, which can also be carried or done through the stress of the men. Is what the other thing I was looking for through the sperm. Uh, it can affect blood flow uh, to the placenta. It can lead to which we talk about premature birth. Uh, so I mean, there are a number of things that that takes place. And the scary thing, I guess, is if you cope those two things together, the male and the female who are carrying the weight of something that's totally destructive, and you put those two things together, and it can cause a have a dramatic effect on a baby.
Yep.
The United States is one of the I always refer to the U.S. in particular as one of the least developed countries, quote unquote, because all the things that would indicate that you were participating in a sort of civil, harmonized society are just not the case in the United States, or we're last on the list.
For real?
Yeah, including things like uh, Black women's experience in the healthcare, quote unquote, system, giving birth, and infant mortality rate in the United States. Terrible.
Yes.
And that's all part of the atmosphere of pressure and stress that is intentionally maintained in order to create a low vibrational state in Black people in particular, and in everyone, because that is always beneficial for those who want to maintain their status as the so-called elite and their power over the system that they created.
And we have to condition ourselves to stop blaming and getting angry about it, because when we do that, we reinforce it. We know the source, so we don't have to reiterate what the source is in terms of being angry because of what happened. The anger really gets to a point where it produces rage, and that is bad on our health, our mental state, the people around us, all of that. And so we have to, I think, know the source, but not to harp on the anger or be angry towards the source. Just recognize it and move on. And I know that sounds easy, but that's what we have to condition ourselves to do. When you talk about the lowering of our vibration, this is one of the ways we raise our vibration. Not about recognizing the source and not allowing it to control our emotions. Then when I look at the Black females in particular, as you mentioned, that the Black females have been fighting extremely hard to raise the vibrations, raise our vibration, putting us back in rhythm with the universe. That the other thing I see with this issue is Black women have let me preempt what I'm about to say. I know that Black men have stress too that comes from females. However, the majority, a good portion of the stress comes for Black women, comes from Black females. I mean, Black males. And that stress comes from Black males because Black males have embraced the concept of I am the man in my house and what I say goes. That's added stress, especially when she speaks and no one is, and the male is not listening, or he is constantly diminishing her quote unquote worth or presence in his life in the house, in the life of the household. There is a reason why children gravitate towards mom, especially when dad is acting crazy, because because that is the source of comfort. Mom is the source of the majority of the nurturing that goes on. So now what happens? That the Black woman does everything she can to hide from the kids the stress that she's going through, and that only increases the stress, because now she's increasing the stress by trying to hide the stress that she already has, and that also further traumatizes the children, and it makes it difficult for the children to interact with the male, not only the male in the house, but other males too, because subconsciously they see that as a source of stress, a source of trauma, especially when there is verbal abuse or physical abuse. And that is one of the reasons an abused female seems to be a magnet for men who are abusers. Does that make sense? Questions or comments about that?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Reb, and to the group, one of the things that I do want to add to this is your RNA, that's a single strand. It can be curvy, it can square off, but it's always a single strand. Your DNA is a duality strand. It's going to be two strands. And both of them, the DNA reads off of the RNA. And then the RNA reads off of the proteins that's produced by the DNA. So one of the things that has an effect on the RNA and DNA individually now is how we invest in ourselves. I invest in a lot of negativity, which has an impact on my RNA. And the negativity that I invest in, and talking to my niece early this week, she was saying, hurt people hurt people. And I said, that's one aspect of it, but hurt people also aid people. And I gave her some examples. Miss Evers, or Mary Evers, she aided Betty Shabazz. In her hurt, she was able to bring some comfort to Miss Shabazz in the assassination of her husband. So my negativity, because when you go against the group now, you are automatically negative. So if you want to have an impact on your RNA and your DNA, you got to talk about how you invest in yourself, which really has an impact on your RNA, DNA. The male who imbues the female sexually that drinks a lot of beer, his acids will cause her to have a yeast infection. That's one aspect, but the aspect of just how we deal with one another, how we imbue one another just in conversation. So I know how you invest in yourself determines strand of RNA that's going to be passed on and passed on. And if an individual, if I'm the individual, every time you ask me something, I say, I don't know. Hey, Jordan, what are you going to do today? I don't know. Hey, Jordan, where you going? I don't know. Once I buy in to say that, and it becomes a pattern with me, my cellular buys into, guess what, George? You don't know nothing. So if you want to have an impact on your RNA and DNA, you should at least be, as an individual, talk about how you invest in yourself. Thank you.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Grand Rising family, honor to the ancestors. Pastor Jay, I have two questions. One, is that not the reason why we were sent here or to come here to deal with our trauma? So we won't have to come back and repeat it? And my second question is, isn't the female energy the grand master that the Masons talk about? They say that the men are the grand masters, but I believe that the women, that energy is the grand master because we're the teachers, and everything came from the feminine womb. So that's my two questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. The female or femininity, as we listen at that video, femininity is here to guard our soul, the soul of all of us, masculinity especially. And masculinity is here to, its responsibility is to protect the existence of femininity. So having said that, when you talk about grand masters, or when you talk about spiritual leadership or spiritual direction or spiritual origins, all of that comes from femininity. And when you think about the idea of having the what responsibility or having the authority to regulate the soul, that is pure spiritual responsibility. And when it talks about respect, the male is to protect her existence. That's not necessarily talking about going to war with a weapon. It's also talking about her existence in terms of her emotional state as well. It's talking about how she perceives herself based upon how you treat her. And the perception that a lot of females have of themselves has been received from the way masculinity or males treat them, which means that when they respond to being what the male want them to be, whether we realize it or not, they're being masculine because they're taking on that masculine energy. And now they're not maintaining the responsibility to protect the soul. And protecting that soul encompasses that being a major nurturer, also being one who does teach. And that is one of the reasons that the children spend more time with the female, because of the not only nurturing, but also because of the responsibility to teach the children, and by example, in other ways rather. So it is important that we understand that, Evelyn, and realize that the society has put the male in the space where he controls everything, to control the soul, to control her existence, to control everything. And the existence that's being controlled is not a spiritual existence in terms of how your emotional attachment, but it's also the damage that you're doing when you relegate her to a secondary experience in life. Unlike white women relish oppression, and that is seen when they talk a good game, but end up doing no matter what the male does. She's a supporter of oppression, and wherein the African woman is fighting against oppression or suppression. So I hope that answers response to what you're asking, Evelyn.
So, and I heard everything you said. So you're saying that, do you agree that the feminine energy is the master teacher? And do you agree that we came here to deal with all the trauma, all the baggage that we carry in this realm?
I do agree that I use the term cosmic mother rather than master teacher, because cosmic mother incorporates all that. So yes, I do agree. We are here to unravel the suppression of humanity, period. The reason humanity is oppressed or suppressed, however you term it, the reason it's happening is because we have a responsibility to exert ourselves as Elohim, as God. But what we have been doing is exerting ourselves as imitators of Europeans in our relationship with females and expecting them to do the same thing as European women do. And that is not in the DNA, that is not in the nature of an African woman. And that is why you find so much resistance. And then it gets to a place where she doesn't resist anymore. She just ignores it. And the last thing I want to say about that is this. When I'm doing counseling, relationships especially, one of the things I say is that a male can say to that woman that he don't love her anymore and he's done, but he'll come back. But once that female says, I don't love you anymore, I'm done, that's it. 9 times out of 10, it's over. Because the reason I say that is because she has been pushed to the brink more times than she can count or remember. I hope that helps, Evelyn, or makes it clearer anyway.
It does. It does. And you're right. When we say we're done because first the mind leaves. When our mind leaves, the body will follow. And we, the feminine energy, is the light in the house. When we leave that house crumbles. Nothing goes right. You end up selling the house or either moving to something else. That's just how powerful the feminine energy is. And another thing, Pastor Jay and family, white, I'll just say European women, I think they suffer more than we do because their husband, their spouse, or their significant others give them things to keep them quiet, tell them you're to be seen and not heard. And then their European husband tells them, you're too fat, you're too this, and you're too that, you're not good enough for this, all those negative connotations. And then the black man has jumped on that same wagon and has made us think that we're too fat, we're too ugly, we're bald-headed, and all those kind of things. So I believe white women suffer more than us. But with us, we talk about it. We stand on what we believe, and we're not going to let you treat us any kind of way. You can go to sleep if you want to, but ain't no guarantee that you're going to wake up the next day because we don't stand for you to keep abusing us. Let me finish, please. So what I'm saying is I think that the European female, that energy is abused just like we are, but we just not going to stand for it. And that's all I wanted to say about that. We respond. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There are. Go ahead. You
Oh,
done?
no. I'm done. Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you.
There are women. There are females who live in the house, but they've already left. And that is more prevalent than you would ever believe. And leaving the house it's not the only way that you leave. I'll put it that way. So back to where we started. All of what we are talking about on the back end of this is all of this comes from trauma. All of it is trauma related. And understanding that the function of the double helix DNA in relationship to how the RNA controls the activity of the genes and controls how much protein is produced, as well as regulating genetic expressions. Um, all of this is the physical understanding of a spiritual truth. And the spiritual truth about it is this. Um, the way that the trauma and the DNA and the RNA, all of that is an explanation, a physical explanation as to why our unseen spiritual emotions are the way that they are. Now, crying is a manifestation of an emotion, but the regulation of RNA and the existence of DNA, all of that is the way it functions is an expression of how we feel spiritually, internally. Does that make sense?
It does. Can I say one more thing in a light note?
Yeah.
We're making a difference because I was talking to this girl. She is, every time we have a board meeting, she's like the secretary or the scribe or whatever. And we have this one commissioner, a Caucasian board member. He talks to people so nasty. And apparently, I don't know what happened, but I don't know if his wife told him, you need to lighten up. But he hurt this one lady, other Caucasian lady, feeling so bad. She left the meeting crying. But anyway, I'm told that he called her and apologized to her because of his behavior and what he said. And then the girl told me that in the meeting, his demeanor had just changed. You know, he started respecting people. So I do believe with everything in me, we are making a difference. I just believe it and I see it. It's so prevalent now because we're dealing with this stuff. And that's all I want to say for right now. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad you said for right now.
Oh, okay. Greater New Faith Foundation, quick question for you all. Is there any case in the history where the husband or the boyfriend has been on their A game and he was giving instructions to his girlfriend or wife, not in a dominating way? In essence, when a husband metaphorically commits suicide, he just gives up. I ain't dealing with this no more. Have any one of you all as ladies or wives or girlfriends, when that man just gave, hey, you just gonna do what you want to do? I believe that when the husband says that, metaphorically, that covering, a certain aspect of the covering, is lifted off of that female. Do you feel the same way, Reverend Richard? Or is there any case where the man has been, the husband, he's been right and he's meeting resistance? What takes place in that?
First of all, I preempted this by saying that there are males who are oppressed by females, but the larger case is when it comes to males versus females. Now, yes, there are a lot of men who meet what you called it. I forgot. The male who doing the right thing is basically what you were asking. Yes, yes. I know men who are, but I'm definitely one. I don't make those these decisions without talking to Phoebe, and there are a number of things that I have desired to get done, to do, and she would say stuff like, "No, not yet," or "I don't think so," and I have gone against that and messed up. So I learned quickly. Just wait until it's time, and it'll be okay. Now, when we talk about the male saying, "I'm done, I give up," the question becomes, did you cause that? Why is it that you say that? Why is it that you say do what you want to do? Why is that the case? Is it because you have been dominant or domineering? Is it because you have forced your will And the latter part of that is this. Why is it that a male have to give a female instructions? Instructions for what? If that is your partner, there is a discussion, but there are no instructions because she's not your child. She is your partner.
Well, would the correct word be guidance? Because we all receive instructions from people.
No, Joe. That's
I
not play a
receive
game. No. Let's not play a game of semantics. It's a discussion. You have a discussion with each other. Because if we go into play a game of semantics, we never will get to an understanding or conclusion about what we are saying. And I know you well enough to know that you're playing a game of semantics, and that's not what we're doing.
Reb, I wasn't playing a game of semantics. Sometimes in grammar, a word changes everything. And maybe instructions was the wrong word. But guidance. We all get guidance. We all get instruction. But I ain't playing no game of semantics or anything like that. I'm here to learn just like everyone else. Y'all have a nice one. Peace.
Thank you. Oh,
Can I say something, Ray?
yeah,
Hello?
yeah,
Can I say something?
yeah. Well,
Okay, well, I was gonna kind of touch on because like I was recently having a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were talking about, just about the masculine energy and the feminine energy, and also speaking about a lot of it when learning these things, we come back and you talking about trauma and a lot of us, I mean, not a lot, I mean, every man, I mean, we've been like the things that we've learned growing up, just from either observation or hearing other men talk. And like we were talking about how we were coming up, with the men we saw, you had the players out there that had all the women. They always had a bunch of women. Then you had the different men that worked all the time. They always had money. You had the men that worked in the yard, and you always seen them working in the yard. You just had different examples of what you thought manhood and what masculinity meant. And then we've also had, on the flip side of that, what we thought what femininity was and what a woman was supposed to be like off our observation. And and we were talking about a lot of the stuff, the majority of the stuff that we've learned and based off what we're learning now is wrong. I'm like, I told him, I said during birth we're forced out the womb, and the average man spends the majority of his time thinking on how he can get back in the womb. And then at the same time, based off what he's learning, his learned behavior, disrespecting everything that encompasses a woman. And and then I told him, I was telling him, I said, not only do we have to learn to have to relearn how we are to treat the woman, but we need to relearn how we treat ourselves, because not only do we damage her, like in damaging ourselves, we damage her. And we were talking about, and we talked about the priest, and we talked about in the Bible and the scripture where it talks about the priest going in the Holy of Holies and things like that, and thinking of that in reference of the feminine energy, and how I told him that I had read something about how they were talking about how your stress and different things comes out in your sperm and things like that, and I'm like, in reality, we shouldn't even be, if we ain't right, we shouldn't even be trying to lay with a woman. I mean, you know what I'm saying? As far as like not just lay with her, but not in physical terms, but in a spiritual sense. Yeah. Like you really have to get right, and then at the same time, learning this behavior is not easy, because we learned a lot of bull as far as men, and then a lot of times when you talking to men, they think, oh, you just pandering to females. No, I'm not pandering to females. I realize that this is real. This is real. I'm not. This is not something that I'm just trying. That we're not trying to pander to the female, but we're realizing that how powerful the feminine energy is, and then realizing that that's not, and like most men a lot of men find it hard to get past the point. Oh, I'm not. I've been taught to be masculine. I ain't got no feminine in me. No, yeah, you do. You just
Yeah.
don't recognize it, and you can tell by your relationships whether or not you're in tune with the feminine, because your relationships ain't gonna go right. I mean, if you can pretty much you can look at the fruit that comes from those relationships, and when you talk about the woman being gone, in most cases when the woman ain't listening to what you talking about, she might be still there, but she gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? She is really gone. Like she may be physically there, but she is already checked out. If she just ain't paying you no attention and just doing whatever she want to do, she's already left. She just ain't physically left.
Well, and I think, Don, that she's not only doing whatever she wanted to do, she's doing what she needs to do to survive in many cases. It's just doing what you do to survive. Um, the other thing, I want to harken back to something. When Evelyn said that you may not wake up in the morning. That is something that I think that we need to look at. Why? Because a lot of women have seen that as their last resort, and they don't see another way out. However, I say that when that happens, it's because she does not recognize that she is the cosmic mother. She does not recognize the power and influence that she has. She does not recognize who she really is because when you do recognize who you are, you don't go to that. You don't resort to that because you know that your way out is knowing who you are and being who you are, as opposed to anything else. So I wanted to. I'm speaking to that because I don't want anyone to leave thinking that that way out. I want to give you an example of how we should respond when we know who we are. And any woman that does that in response to what she is receiving from that male, again, I reiterate, she does not see another way out. And what we are doing now is putting the macro and understanding of a better way to remove yourself from the presence of that type of relationship that leads you to even think that way. I'm done. Thank you. If there are questions or comments.
Pastor Jay, thank you. And that I'm glad you said what you said. Even though when I didn't realize or come to the knowing of who I am like I am now, again, that thought has never registered with me. There's been time when I wanted to take myself out and not the male or the males who have mistreated me. So there may be somebody on this line who is going through some situations with their spouses, vice versa. And I'm glad that you put that out in the macro, because like George said previously, some men just want out because of the hurt. But thank you for putting that out there so we can get this healing done, so to speak.
And let me
Thank
also
you.
speak to the other side of it, talking about taking yourself out. And that's another example of not knowing who you are and not recognizing the spiritual influence that you are and that you have. Because taking your way, desiring to take yourself out is saying that you don't have another way out other than death. And I'm saying that you really do have another way out. And that is the reason I do believe that the ancestors guided Ron to begin this with talking about the trauma that's in males and females based upon transference rather through sperm and the embryo. I do understand that. And I think the reason we're talking about this is because there are so many mixed matches with females and males. There are so many who are suffering, some on this line who are suffering. And I find it very difficult, as Don was talking about, I find it very difficult to explain things or to talk about things when males are resistant to the truth. I kind of missed what you said, Evelyn, because there's so much to respond to, especially when we are talking about our resistance to what we're saying based upon what males endure. And it doesn't matter who says it or how it's said. Females are under more stress than males in terms of being forced to change their identity or to embrace the identity that the male wants them to embrace, as opposed to being who they really are. And the next time that any of you hear a male say that I'm the man in my house, that male needs to be corrected or let him have the house and see how far he goes with that. So I'm just saying, free yourself from this. That's all. I'm done for now. I'm like Evelyn. I'm done for now.
I think this explains a lot of things to us. Our children, I was listening to someone close to me, a friend of mine, talk about his kids, and our kids are accepting that I'm a certain way. I can't learn math, or I don't like this, or sciences, whatever the case may be. We have accepted that that there's something lacking in me, kind of, sort, I guess. And all these things have a rooted cause. And I think that's why the last couple of years, or maybe last year at least, the ancestors have guided us on things to discuss. One of the things that I love about what we do is I know for certain, at least for me, that these discussions that we have are therapeutic. They help me. And to the point where I am not afraid to bring up any topic or anything that I struggle with. And I also understand that they're not just for me. So I agree that this was a very necessary discussion, and maybe one we'll probably engage in a different time. But if you look at this pulls a lot of things together to me, and answers a lot of questions about us as a people, from a religious aspect of what we believe to because if you think about, Christianity was forced on us. You didn't have a choice. And certainly we don't think about trying to love God as being stressful. But if it doesn't mesh with, or it doesn't bring you balance, it brings you stress. Don hit something on the head. I was it's been a while since I had picked up the 42 principles of Mayot, and I was looking at those, and I could easily feel the difference that it had on me looking at them, that it took me to a different place of where I was. And what I couldn't describe the place so much, but what I recognized is it took me to a place of evenness, balance, I guess would be the word, that whatever was bothering me kind of disappeared for a little while. And why do I bring that up? What Don said was, your, and I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he talked about your mindset before you enter the female. And you know, let's come on. For the most part, that's not what you're thinking about. But I do understand what he's saying, and I think that's extremely important. And the important part is not to get there at that moment. The important part is to be there all the time. And I guess that's part of what we're getting to. So this is very therapeutic to me, and I love these discussions, and I thank everybody for what has been said.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
I do have a question. This is Audrey. Um, earlier when you were talking about the talk, Pastor, and you said, when parents had the talk with their children, mostly males, I guess, you said that was a trigger for trauma,
I say it.
but go ahead.
No, go ahead.
But it kind of reminded me of how our parents and grandparents wouldn't talk to us about what they experienced living in America. Because I guess they didn't want to pass on that trauma orally, I guess. But I think the thing is, though, we got the trauma anyway. So whether we have the talk or whether we don't talk can be a trigger. But I wished that my parents, grandparents had said more, because I feel like just like we have these discussions and having an opportunity to ask questions leads to a lot more openness, a lot more opportunity to sort of let go of the trauma if you can ask questions and sort of figure it out in a way that helps you let go of it. And I think that happened. That's true for relationships too. If there's discussion, as opposed to just saying, okay, I'm the man and you need to do this, that, or the other. But if there's discussion that leads to more openness of what each other expects and recognizes in the other, then that leads to less trauma, I would say. Do you understand what I'm asking? Doesn't discussion lead to less trauma?
I do. I do agree with you that I think it does lead to less trauma because it actually makes you aware of what you're dealing with. However, I understand also what you were saying about our parents not talking about the discussion, the stress that they were under and the trauma that they experienced. And you're right, I do believe it because they didn't want us to have to deal with it, but not knowing that it was being passed on to us in other ways. Yeah, I do, and that was not as noble as it was a necessity in their hearts to protect us. I thoroughly embrace that. Yet, I also believe that, Audrey, we don't have a choice but to have to talk. You know, I mean,
Right, I agree.
yeah. I'm done.
can I make a comment about what Ms. Audrey said?
Yeah.
I was thinking, and I was just thinking about, about like me and Nikita were talking about our parents and stuff like that, and about stuff they went through, and then especially after your parents have you have a parent that has transitioned or a relative that has transitioned, and I really think that they probably wanted to have those talks, but at the same time, I think at times, I don't think they were really equipped in the ways that we are today, you know what I'm saying, to actually deal with it. Like, it's almost like, when it comes to trauma, it's like, especially when it comes to talking about it, it's like scratching at a scab. You know what I'm saying? And then now you done kept scratching at this scab, and now it's open again. And so when you're not equipped to deal with, okay, now that I done uncovered this trauma, now what am I going to do with it? And I think a lot of times when it came to our ancestors and things like that, they didn't want to talk about it because they didn't want to open up a new wound. You know what I'm saying? Open up an old wound. And so they kind of.
May I interject something or ask you something?
Okay.
I don't think it was because they felt like they were not equipped to do it. I truly think that their primary motive was protection. They felt like protecting us from what they had gone through. And that's the whole adage about your children being better than you were, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what I think it is. I mean, when you think about it, there are things that you go through in a relationship, even now, but you don't talk to your kids about it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm done. Questions, comments, Ron?
Good discussion. I hope we got a thought from it. Anyone else?
I would like to make a comment before we get off the phone, if we're done. Okay. To the Black male, to the African American male, to the Caucasian male, the European male, we forgive you. We love you. And in order for the healing to begin, we have to forgive. No matter what has been placed on the female, whatever has been done to us, we forgive you. We love you. Again, we are not your enemy, but we are your energy. We can't make this journey without you. We both need each other. Put the ego aside and let's get this journey. Let's walk on this journey and let's get this work done. Ashe.
Ashe.
Shay.
Ashe.
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 Much love, family. Thank you. You guys.
Did Ron go before before you finished?
I think so.
Yeah. Much love, guys. You have a great rest of your day. And we will see you tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Have a great day, guys. Bye, everybody.